My commentary on the book of Ruth, Ruth chapter 4, verses 1 through 6. Verse 1. Meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat there. The town gate is the equivalent to our city halls. This is where the business of the town took place. There are many commentators that say that Boaz probably was an elder of Bethlehem, in our terms a city councilman, because he sat at the gate where the town's business would take place. If anybody had a dispute with somebody else, they would go to the gate of the town, talk to the elders would decide. So any business that was done at the town gate was done by these elders, and that's where Boaz went this day because he had some business to take care of. When the kinsman redeemer he had mentioned came along, Boaz said, "Come over here, my friend, and sit down." So he went over and sat down. This other kinsman redeemer is the redeemer, the closer relative. He took priority over Boaz when it came to purchasing land and marriage. So this had to be brought before the elders to be decided. Verse 2, Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, "Sit here," and they did so. When he said to the kinsman redeemer, "Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our brother Elimelech." Now we've got a problem here, because here, according to the NIV, it's Naomi has land that she is selling. We see over in verse 9, "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech." The NIV in verse 9 states that Naomi has the land and she's selling it to the kinsman redeemer. The implication might be that Naomi is selling the land for Ruth. We've got a problem here. In verse 9 and verse 2, we have different verb tenses, and we have different sentence structure for the same idea. And so the NIV has decided to say that Naomi has land and she's going to sell it. But I do not believe this is an accurate portrayal of the book of Ruth. Elimelech and Naomi left Bethlehem, and Naomi and Ruth returned empty-handed. She was so poor, Ruth had to glean land, get food from the land. They had no land of their own to produce food on. So how can Naomi have land here to sell? I don't believe she did. Some texts say just the opposite to what the NIV says. So it's my understanding, as well as other commentators' understanding, that when Boaz gathers the elders together at the gate, and when he calls over the closer kinsman redeemer, he doesn't say Naomi has land to sell. He says closer kinsman redeemer or me has to buy back the land that Elimelech and Naomi once had. It's purchasing of lost land. That's the intent of this verse. Naomi is not selling land because she has no land to sell. Just why the NIV translates it this way, I don't know. Again, it could be simply they think that Naomi has land to be sold in order for Ruth to get the land, but that's not the case. we might have another thing going here as well, and that might be the fact that many NIV translators believe in replacement theology. And replacement theology, as we will see later here, plays an important role in the selling of this land. I'll come to that later. Verse 4, I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, meaning the land, do so. But if you will not, tell me, so I will know. For no one has the right to do it except you, and I am next in line. Boaz is simply saying, closer kinsman redeemer, if you want to buy the land back for Naomi, go ahead and do it. But if you don't want to do it, tell me in front of these witnesses, because if you don't do it, I will. And then the kinsman redeemer who was closer said, I will redeem it, he said. Verse 5, then Boaz said, on the day you buy the land from Naomi and from Ruth, the Moabitess, you acquire the dead man's widow in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property. Verse 6, and this the kinsman redeemer said, then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it. So there you go. The closer kinsman redeemer, as soon as he found out that he had to marry Ruth the Gentile Moabitess, he couldn't do it. It would endanger his own lineage into the future. He could buy the land for Naomi, but he couldn't marry the Gentile Ruth. This is important, and we will talk about this more later. Again, for more information on the book of Ruth, visit my website, stevesweetman.com.